why didn't they just eat the pork? If you remember in that first reading, it was a brutal reading. A mother and her 7 sons being told to eat pork, and if they do not, they'll die. Why didn't they just eat the pork? And it seems kind of crazy that they wouldn't eat the pork. Is their life really worth, or is not eating pork worth that, their own lives? It would kind of be like if someone on Thanksgiving Day came up to you and I and said, look, if you eat turkey today, you're going to die. If you eat turkey today, you're going to die. I'm not going to eat turkey. All right, I'm not going to eat turkey if it's going to cost me my life. I like it, but I don't like it that much. But it would be something altogether different if that person that said, if you eat turkey, you're going to die, if that person was a terrorist, part of a larger effort that had overthrown our government and had taken over our nation. That would be something altogether different. If that person then were to say, if you eat turkey, you're going to die. Because at that point, it's not about the turkey. It's about an attempt to destroy a way of life, a life that we know, we love, and we celebrate each and every Thanksgiving in gratitude. And that's exactly what's at stake in the first reading. That voice of compromise that came from that king to the mother and those 7 sons was not some random demand, eat this pork. What was at stake was a way of life that had been gifted to that mother, that had been gifted to her 7 sons. And if they ate that pork, they were essentially killing that way of life, which was what that king wanted to do. At this point in Israel's history, they are about 2 centuries before the life of Christ. So this is happening in the 2nd century BC. And there's this enormous effort to oppress and eradicate the nation of Israel. This king and his subjects are trying to destroy Israel and the Jews, and they know exactly how to do it. By going after the thing that connects them to the very source of their life. They are going after the law of God. To be considered a faithful Jew, it meant that you believed that God's presence was with Israel. And they were very proud of that. They were the only nation, the only people in the old world that God had revealed himself to. No one else had God's presence in their midst except Israel. No one else had this roadmap of how they ought to live and how they can maintain connection with the source of their life, God. Only Israel had that roadmap, the law. Only Israel had the temple. Only Israel had God. And if they lost their connection with God, they were dead. They were no longer a nation. They were no longer a people. It wasn't just about the pork. It was about losing connection with the source of their life, God, the source that made them and gave them a life, the source that made them a people. And that mother and those 7 sons were uncompromising. They were absolutely uncompromising in their faith. They refused to give up God's law. They refused to give up their connection with the source of their life, our God. And that same temptation, that same voice of compromise still exists 23 centuries later. That same king, if you will, is still tempting us to just compromise a little bit. Just eat the pork. What difference does it make? Is it really worth your life? That same voice of compromise is asking us to compromise just a little bit. Just here, just there, on human dignity. It's one life in the womb. What does it matter if that child is born? The world already has enough people. It's just one life. What does it matter if they marry? Does it really affect you and me? What does it matter if they say they're not a boy, or they say they're not a girl, or a man or a woman? What does it matter if we redefine what it means to be man or woman? Does it really affect you and I? Does it affect my masculinity? Does it affect your masculinity and femininity? Just compromise. Just eat the pork. What does it matter? Is it really worth your life? Is it really worth losing your life? Who is God? They had a chance. They made the wrong decision. They let themselves get addicted to drugs. They were the ones that broke the law. Let's just throw away the key. What does it matter? They're less than you and I. They don't deserve another chance. They had the same chances you and I had. Probably be better off without them. Probably be better off with them in jail. We already have enough people in our country. What does it matter if we tell this group, no, you need to stay out? They're not worth as much as you and I are as American citizens. Maybe they have different skin color. Maybe they don't have as much as you and I. Maybe they speak a different language. But they're not Americans, and so they're less. We're still America. Doesn't change us in the least. Just eat the pork. What does it matter? Let's make this one compromise. And that voice isn't just there tempting us as a society, as a people. It's also there tempting us as individuals, asking us to just make that one little compromise. Just eat the pork this time. What does it matter if you get mad this time? Angry. Giving into that voice tempting us to impatience, tempting us to anger, tempting us to just participate in the gossip this one time. What does it matter? Tempting us to, I'll just withhold a little bit. I sacrifice enough, but I'll just withhold this little bit this time. What does it matter? Is it really going to impact the whole? Yes, it does. Because it's not about the pork. It is not about the pork. It is about us as a people being uncompromising and maintaining that connection with Him who is the source of our life, God. He is responsible for the life that we have. He is responsible and has gifted us, just as He gifted that mother and her 7 sons, the life that they had. He has gifted us the life of this parish, the life of our faith. He has gifted us a life in His Son, something they didn't have, and we do. And just as the law is very much so a part of the Jewish identity, it is absolutely a part of the heart of what it means to be a disciple and follower of Jesus Christ. As He said, not a single letter of the law will pass And that is not to say that we observe all of the Jewish prescriptions of the law. That is to say that we too maintain our connection with the source of life through following the law. He continues to give us the law, a roadmap that tells us and shows us how to stay connected to Him. Are we as uncompromising in our faith as that mother and her 7 sons? When the voice of that king, that voice of compromise comes through and just eat the pork this one time. Are we as uncompromising as they were? And probably not. I know I'm not. But that's the beauty of living in the New Testament, is that when we make those compromises, when we compromise, He can restore that life. He can restore that connection. And He offers us that in spades, through the gift of reconciliation, through the gift of the sacrament of confession. When we fail, when we compromise, when we give in to temptation, that one time when we eat the pork, don't forget that nothing is lost as long as we give Him that opportunity to restore that life through His mercy.